Somebody said to me once, in a collaborative process, there are no bad ideas. And I said, bullshit. You have to have tons of bad ideas to get to the good ones. What do you mean there's no bad ideas? How do you sift through this stuff?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Hello, Peter.
Hi, how are you?
How's it going? Good to see you.
It's great to see you.
So thank you for doing this. I really wanted to talk to you. We have never worked together, but I've seen many of your shows and I really like your work. And so when the opportunity came up to talk to anybody in Canada, I immediately said, Peter Hinton is the one I'd like to talk to. And the questions I have for you are mostly around how you work with designers and with design. Design seems like such a huge part of your show. It seems like you really prioritize design. And so my first question for you, I guess, would be, you are known for your preparation. I've heard rumors about how you make a big book for every show and all the preparation work that you do. And so my first question would be, how early do you think about design? Do you think about design when you read a play? Or at what point do you start imagining set design or anything at all?
Well, that's such a good question. And I mean, certainly over the years of doing it, you develop kind of a practice and a way of approaching things. But part of it too is being open to every show has its own needs, its own demands. Every theater does. Every team that you're working with has a different dynamic. And so it alters a little bit. It's funny because I feel like the real job is how to bring the fullest sense of what design can do to the dramaturgy or the telling of that story, just as much as the actors do, as the writers do, as everybody, and how you integrate bringing everybody together. So I try to, with every play, particularly with ones from the public domain, like what is erroneously called classical theater, and I resist that word and struggle with that term for all of its elitist intentions. I mean, the word class is embedded in classical. So I much prefer public domain because it's the public house. It's the royalty-free work that we come to and are asked to reinvent in some way. But so I try to think of doing the work to understand as best as possible what the intent of the play was, what it meant in its own time, what the intention of the writer was, what was happening in the world when this play was made. And that's half the work to me. And the other half of the work is how do those intentions land in contemporary people and a contemporary audience so that there's a dialogue, a discourse between a history of something and the presence of something. And that's like my favorite thing in the world to do is to go, what did A Doll's House mean in the 1870s when Ibsen wrote that play? And what does it mean now? And so sometimes you lean really heavily into what it means now. And sometimes you lean really heavily into what it might have meant in its time. Because all of it is imagining. Like you have to imagine a little bit or a lot of what it might meant in its own time. What about you? Like what is your take? Like you're somebody, and like an amazing thing I just want to say that I love about this conversation is because it is something I had wanted to do for at least 15 years is to do a show with you. And it will happen. I'm determined to make that happen. And it's because of the work of yours I've seen. It's because of conversations we've had. It's because you light, you perform, you direct. Like you're not just in a silo of one area of expertise. Like your design is very informed by many things. And we have a lot of mutual colleagues and friends. And they tell me, they go, Itai is like, he's intense in the room. He's a lot of opinions. And I go, bring it on. I love
But
that.
so is Bonnie. So is Bonnie. So
So is
yeah.
so is Bonnie Beecher for sure. Like Bonnie and I have worked together now over a kind of 25, 30-year period. So it's been really great to watch each other grow through that time. And so you develop a shorthand. You develop a way of understanding what bright is, what shadowy is, what what the function of the lighting is. And I think lighting, the reason why I probably am so dedicated to working with Bonnie is because lighting is to me the hardest element because you can only talk about it. Like a costume designer can show you a drawing, can show you fabric, can send you pictures from a fitting. There's many ways over the course of a process where they can share with you what it's going to be. Where lighting, you don't really get to see it until you're in the theater and you're working under incredible and increasingly so time constraints. And you have to make decisions under a lot of pressure. And it's at the time when the actors are the most like, what's going on? And like the writer is going about, like you've got all of the pressures of the show. And that's your time with the lighting designer. So if you have a vocabulary that is established and rich and one in which one can be involved, and I can say to Bonnie, if we're in a really tight place with tech, I can say, just give her, just go.
Yeah, you do it and I'll give you notes later. Yeah.
Yeah, I know she's going to be able to get us through that to revisit things at a later time.
But also, like you said, every play has different requirements. And so your aesthetic might be great for a bunch of shows, but then you do something completely different and the requirement is different. But I've worked with a lot of directors who said sort of something similar that when we were first meeting, they were like, oh, no, we don't want any color. We don't want any color. And then I was like, well, the one thing that I love about lighting design also, and we'll talk about this a little more further, but when I watch a show in rehearsals, I have ideas about how it could be, but I don't decide anything at all. And what I like is to have lots of possibilities and a lot of different options that I can show a director, and then we do it together. And if you don't love my first option, I have a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth way of doing things. And so I like just having lots of options. And a lot of times, and that's the beauty of lighting design, is that it doesn't matter what you plan. If something looks good, it works, and that's it. And so the people, as long as you're open-minded, I think the collaboration between lighting designer and director can go in different directions than what you thought it would. And that's also the great thing about working with new people, is that you think that you know something, but you don't know what they know. And so if you're open-minded, they can take you in a different direction, which what I love about what we do.
It's a very interesting thing to me because you don't want to get entrenched in habits. You've got to me as a director, know yourself, know your aesthetic, know how you work, know what you're trying to do with the play, and be open. It's like I'm always amazed when I mentoring directors or teaching directing, which I've been doing a lot more of in the last 10, 15 years, is when is it great in the room when the director says, I don't know? So sometimes when a director goes, I don't know, you see the whole company get excited by that and feel engaged with the discovery and feel, wow, we've got someone really who's going to interrogate something in a rich way. In contrast, when the moment the director says, I don't know, and you feel the whole room panic and go, oh my God, there's nobody driving the bus. It's the number one question, that young emerging directors and student directors want to know about is how do you work with a lighting designer? It's the number one question I get asked.
Interesting. Yeah, because you can prepare, like you said. You have to do it on the spot. Yeah.
So you have to really know what your intention is of something, and how does it, like, I like to know a lot about the lights, about the rig, about the board, about what numbers are, so that I can help facilitate a process. So I'm not going, oh, can you bring up that? Well, I mean, sometimes I do for sure, but we're rather going, can you bring up that cool backlight that was sort of stage left for a while? That we saw it like an hour ago. Could you bring, like, you can lose a lot. So how can you learn a bit about what the lighting designer's tools are to be able to participate, not to control them or micromanage them, but to participate? Because what I'm not down with, and I have my judgment about it. I'm not down with the school of you go away and do your own thing and show me.
Yeah.
Because then you get into a lot of circumstances that I've witnessed many, many times where the director knows something isn't working, but he's just sort of leaving it to the magic of the designer to solve. And how do you build a vocabulary, a way of talking? Like, an interpretation is something you arrive at. It's not something you begin with. So I don't sit down and go, okay, I'm gonna direct the cherry orchard. I want to set it now in the Jane Finch corridor in Toronto. Like, I don't come in with that kind of thing. You arrive at an interpretation through how you understand the text, how you understand the company, how it resonates with our own time now.
And the last thing about what you said is that I always offer directors a magic sheet. I say, this is all my, would you like to see what I'm working with? You want to have a magic sheet? And very few directors say yes. Directors say, oh, no, 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 I don't want to know numbers. I don't want to know, you do that, you do that. But some people do. And then it does make for a lot easier communication because they know exactly what I got. And my magic sheets, that's my favorite thing, is to make magic sheets. I should have been a graphic designer because I love making one piece of paper with arrows from here and arrows from there and little gobos and printings. And to make it so that anybody that looks at this page can understand the lighting, can understand something about the lighting. Yeah, and so that's something else that would help young directors if an established designer would give them his magic sheet and show them how to, because you don't want to look at a lighting plot, you don't want to look at the channel schedule, but a magic sheet is such a visual thing that has all the lights in one piece of paper that anybody can understand. Another show that you did at the Shaw Festival that absolutely blew me away was an Octoroon.
Okay, yeah.
And again, some bold choices there. Was it a Beyoncé song that started that one?
Yes, yeah, formation. Yep.
Yeah. And so a super modern, I mean, that show was newly written, but it was about the past. And so again, a strong choice. And then you had the big white cyc and silhouettes, I remember, and everything looked like a shadow play, even when it wasn't a shadow play.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was blown away that Tim Carroll in his first year at the Shaw Festival would even program that show.
I know. Incredible.
I know, amazing that he did that, but also your choices made that even stronger. It felt to me like you were absolutely challenging that Shaw Festival audiences who are not used to seeing that. And that play was in your face, and the writing was in your face, and the choice to do it, but your direction and your design choices were also just heightened everything that the play was about. And so how did you, again, was that a deliberate choice to try to shock the Shaw audiences? Or, do you know what I mean? Did you know it was going to be super controversial? Was that?
Yeah, we did. We did. I mean, the play is genuinely confrontational and controversial, and a perfect play for the show because it's that play is about somebody wanting to do this Dion Boucicault play, and how none of the white people wanted to be in it because it looked bad. So he decided, the black playwright, that Andre Sills played so freaking fantastic. He was amazing.
Yeah,
He
remarkable.
says, "Okay, I'll play
Yeah.
I'll play it." And I remember like the rehearsal where we're setting up the world of it, and Dion Boucicault appears from the 19th century to talk to this playwright, and putting on the Beyoncé and Patrick McManus, who played Boucicault, had to play Dion Boucicault from the 19th century hearing Beyoncé. And like, and not just bring our own sort of like what we all think is cool about Bay, but like to, like, it was odd to him. It was kind of cool to, like, the play. It really comes from that play. That play is fantastic. And I thought it was a really appropriate, right, dangerous choice for the Shaw Festival.
How was it received by that audience?
It was received by like artists loved it, and critically it did okay. Somebody recently posted like it wasn't critically well received, which I don't know, that could be true, but I recall it being very respected. It did not sell well.
That's my question. It was shocking for that audience. It would be shocking for them. It would be shocking for anybody, but for that audience in particular, to put it in that community where the people are so old and so white, it was just like a slap in their face. And that's what I loved about it. I felt like, I remember leaving the theater, and I told my friend that I was late. I felt like somebody went on stage and threw a bucket of water in my face. That's what that felt like. And that was just a perfect adaptation. And your design choices was so in the heart of that. And so I think maybe that's why you are my favorite director, is your design is always in the forefront for you. It's not an afterthought. It is the main thing that you use for storytelling in a way.
Yeah. And it's very key to what the actors do. It's related to what I invite the actors. I try to think of like the design team and the acting company as all part of a large ensemble, not separate. So, there's this, I don't know if it's still done so much, but it's always on schedules, is the run for legs, where like the director and the actors have been working together for sometimes as short as a week and a half, and the nervous production manager schedules a run for lights. So it's usually just before the plot has to go in. And
I always feel guilty. They always blame us for the run.
it's horrible. It's horrible. And people don't know what they're doing enough. And everyone feels like they're having to commit to a staging, and the designer's trying to get engaged and be a part of it. Like, if there's a way to avoid that at any point, I will do it. And that might mean come into the rehearsal and watch us muck around, watch us get lost, watch us make a discovery. We'll do more for what the lighting design and the plot needs to be than doing a kind of show and tell for you.
I agree.
I'm very fortunate at places like Stratford and the Shaw and the COC too, where you have more time. And so you can do a run. And that is an important thing. I'm not negating that. But it's taking that pressure off of it that, people are judging what they're saying rather than working together towards something.
Yeah.
Like this story I like to share is I was doing a play many years ago, and it was tense because there wasn't a laptop. And the actor said on stage, she went, is this the actual prop that's going to be used? And I said, yeah, is there a problem with it? No. I just want to know. I mean, if that's what you're going to use, so then I just need to know that. Well, we can change it if you, no. If that's what you want, that's what I'll do. And I could feel her anxiety mounting. And from the back of the house, the designer said, is that your actual acting that you're going to do?
Ouch.
And I went, okay, whoa. So I said, okay, come on, we got to get together here.
That's rude, though. That's a little rude.
It was, but I understood how they felt robbed of discovery. They felt, and the actor wasn't trying to insult the design, and that designer wasn't trying to insult the actor. but it was the tensions of where everything's at. Like, the last couple of years after COVID, some theaters have been able to deal with the time by letting you rehearse on set. And there's great things to that. And you go, oh, wow, we get 3 weeks on the deck and we have the real things. And a beautiful actor said that, which was also in Montreal, said to me, I miss the tape on the floor. I miss, like, I liked imagining everything, and it allowed me to imagine my acting. When I see the real set is so beautiful, I immediately feel like I'm false. Like I can't get there yet. And I will be there. Give me 3 weeks. But she lamented like how the tape on the floor and imagining it and looking at a maquette and putting it in her head allowed her into it,
Yeah.
allowed her to meet. And that really resonated with me. So it's not like we have to do a little show and tell for the designer to prove we've been good students and have done our job. I'm confident we'll do, like, if something like, I don't need, if we discover something in a level session, you go, I needed to wait for the next LX call to fix that light. I don't need to stop everything and send someone up on a ladder to fix the light. So I can go with that, but that requires confidence. It requires experience.
That's why I think, like I said, I think that's why you have been so successful over the years, because some people just play it safe. And then they don't have those big failures, but they're not brilliant either. And so in order to be brilliant, you have to be brave and not to be afraid
Yes.
that you will fail. And so I think that's what I try to do as an artist too. And I look back at some and I go, this wasn't my best work, but I really gave it everything I had, and it just didn't work that time. But you got to be very brave, and yeah, I think you have been. The last show I would mention to you that I absolutely loved was your cabaret at Shaw with Marcio Gianfrancesco. Did that beautiful thing in the middle that spun like
Oh,
that,
that tower,
and
yeah.
then I remember them all sitting with a pineapple, just all holding a pineapple, and it was whimsical and gorgeous, and the design was just stunning. And then I remember how you did the fruit shop in that with those big trays of fruit. There was the color, yeah, that was just a beautiful, beautiful production.
That is so, it's really like, thank you so much for saying, like, it really means a lot because it can feel sometimes in Canada like we sort of make these works of art in a void, like they're written on water, you make them and then they go away. And
Well, that's the beauty of theater, right? I was just, we all have to write a speech this year because we don't know who's going to win, and our speech gets translated. So I've been working on my speech, and I wrote, that theater is the most ephemeral of all the arts. You have to be in the room to appreciate it. And lighting is the most ephemeral of all design elements because there is no set that stays. There's no lines that stay in somebody's head. It's like the lighting it's just gone, and you just have to be there to appreciate it. And that's why theater is the magical thing that it is, because you have to drive out of your home, go and sit in a dark theater, and then take whatever is thrown at you. And the audience is as big of a part of it as the actors, as the designers, it's a true collaboration between artists and the people who are watching it. And that's what I love about theater, the ephemeral aspect of it. But also know that we live in a community, right? I've been doing this for 25 years, and so I saw shows that you directed at the NAC. I saw shows you directed at Stratford. I saw shows at the Shaw Festival. I've been following you because I get around, and I'm not even in that part of the country. I think people who live in Ontario have seen your work a lot more than me. But I've also worked with almost all these people that you mentioned. I've worked with Eo Sharp on several shows. I've worked with Richard on shows. So we sort of bump into the same people again and again, and we are part of a community. So our work does not go unnoticed. It is certainly
yeah, that's
affects.
really important.
I'm sure many directors were heavily influenced by you because you are like a shining beacon up there that is just never afraid to fail. And that's just the greatest lesson that an artist can learn.
is it's so much like this conversation has confirms too a lot for me about like you're so humble. You're so humble. You're the Seminovich nominee here, dude, and you've got a million questions for me. And I go, you're curious, you're interested, you're not focused all on yourself. You're interested in your collaborators and the world around you, the theater making that has influenced you and your peers. It really speaks a lot to you. It says a lot about you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm so curious about how you stay you and you're doing a work like Soldiers of Tomorrow that you developed, like it's about you, that is personal in that way, versus you're doing an opera for opera that's like, versus doing a blood wedding for Studio 58, versus like we share that you have a wide range of things. Like you just go to your website, you don't go, oh, he always does this kind of play.
Well, I like to be versatile.
And that has a lot to do with like, who hires us and what we get invited to do and what, yeah.
For sure. But also, first of all, as a lighting designer, I'd like to think that I mean, that's also an interesting question between having a style and something that you're good at and feeling that you can design anything and being super versatile, right? And so I'd like to think that I can design any kind of a play, and I take it as a challenge when I get to do something that I'm not known for. Like what I'm known for, I think, is more the abstract plays that with the lighting is the main design element, or and so where I have to do everything with lights, or where I can use very little front lights and light the entire show from behind and from the side because you don't need to see people's faces so much. That's sort of what I'm known for. But then when I get to do a play that is the absolute opposite, which is a snazzy musical when you need to see people's faces all the time, I find that exciting. But as for your question about the shows that I create, people will always, when I did How to Disappear Completely, my first show that I ever wrote and performed, people were like,
Beautiful.
it must be so different. Thank you. It must be so different to be on stage. And I said, no, as a lighting designer, I already felt that I'm part of the storytelling. I don't feel like it's a huge gap. I feel lighting design,
Yeah, exactly.
I try to use in my plays lighting dramaturgy. And that's another thing that I realized when I did that show is that lighting doesn't have to be another design element. Lighting can be the emotional heartbeat of a piece. Lighting can move a show forward quickly, or it can fade the light super slowly. Like it can create so much more than what we see. And a lot of what I do as a lighting designer, it works subliminally. The audience never knows it, but they feel. And so I think that's why lighting is a huge part of the storytelling already. So when I create shows, it's a natural transition for me. But also, I can't think of anything more exciting in the world than getting into a rehearsal hall and devising a play and creating a theater piece. And I'm not a great writer, I'm not a great director, I'm not a great actor, but I'm a great producer. I hire excellent people. I give them enough time. I give them enough money because that's what you need for shows to be good. You need to workshop them again and again and again until they are good. And so that's the one thing I understood about theater. And for my company, The Elbow, we don't have these deadlines. The show is ready when it's ready, and then we sell it. We work on it until it's ready. If it takes 2 years, if it takes 3 years, we're going to work on it until it's ready. And so I think that's why I've been successful for my company, because I hire the best people when I create a show like that, and I think I'm a good collaborator.
Clearly. That's like, it's interesting because there's a kind of false division. It's not, that the Seminovich has a year for directors, a year for playwrights, a year for designers. Like it's kind of like setting up this idea of expertise or one thing. But like we've seen so many examples over the years of people who defy that, who do many things, of which you are like a perfect example of.
Yeah, that's the other thing I love about theater. There is no blueprints for a career in the arts, right? You try to do something, and if it's good, people ask you to do it again. And if you're good at that, then you can do that, and you can do different things. And that's what I absolutely love about theater. But I know what you mean. I mean, I'm really glad that I'm nominated for lighting because like I said, I'm not a great writer, I'm not a great actor. I don't think I could be nominated for anything else. But I do feel very comfortable as a lighting designer. I've designed more than 350 shows, so anything that can possibly happen in the room has already happened to me by now. And I know how some directors want me to do all the work and show it to them when it's ready, and some directors want to be there for every second. And different people require different skill sets, and different sets require different skill sets. And if you light in a round versus lighting in a proscenium, it's like a different thing completely.
Of course. Of course.
And so it's just, I would say that the most important skill for a lighting designer is versatility, is being able to deal with a lot of different things that throw at you and feeling comfortable. Like you said, that body thrives under pressure. I also thrive under pressure. I feel like that's where I come alive, is when at the theater, and I can show you what I can do, is when I get most excited.
Yeah. It's like, I think my favorite time on any show, like I love it all. I do. I love the first day. I love the opening. I love the whole thing. But it's really doing levels is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's fun.
And a lot of people, like a lot of theaters will say, oh, you don't have to go to the levels. And I go, yes, like it's my favorite thing.
I know.
Or like very prominent big directors said, oh yeah, I used to go to levels too when I was your age. Like it was sort of something a junior person does or something. That is the richest rehearsal time with the lighting designer, is that time.
Yeah.
When you're going, let me see it at 30%. Let's see it at 35%. Like that, like you're seeing so much of what that language in.
And that's the other thing I learned early in my career, is that if I am fast in hanging, if I'm fast focuser, then I leave the time for levels, because I want to have time to fail also. I want to have time to offer ridiculous things that don't work and see that they don't work so we can get to the good choice. Somebody said to me once, in a collaborative process, there are no bad ideas. And I said, bullshit. You have to have tons of bad ideas to get to the good ones. What do you mean there's no bad ideas? How do you sift through this stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
For sure.
And so that's what I learned about, I wasn't the most organized person when I started, but now I am so organized because I save valuable time in tech that I spend it with the director and levels. That's my favorite thing too. Okay, we do have to wrap up. So thank you so much, Peter. You are the best.
Thank you. Thank you
And,
so much. And
I hope to see you soon.
congratulations again. Like, I'm really, really thrilled for you, and send you all the best.
Thank you very much.